Hello and welcome to episode, and I hope this is correct, 23 of Randomer Nintendo. Is it 23, Jason?
You know, the one time I wasn't going to say anything, you then call on me. Yes, it is episode 23. Correct.
Thank you.
And I'm Jason, as you
appreciated.
noted. So there's my introduction while we're at it.
Yeah, joined by me is, well, that guy. And we have other guy, Kevin. Somewhere around
Other
here.
guy reporting for duty.
Sweet. So as you may have noticed, we took, how many? Did we just skip a
We're
week?
We're off.
Time is so messed up for me right now. You know, I spent almost a week in Cancun, and then, well, that's pretty much it. That could just kind of throw everything off. So, what is time? When was the last time we were even on here?
We last recorded in early July, I think the episode went up the 11th. It has been a minute. But yeah, Comic-Con and unwanted souvenirs from Comic-Con kind of got in the way of, aka COVID, kind of got in the way of recording last week. So now here we are.
Oh, okay. Not too bad then. Which makes sense then, because normally during Comic-Con, well, I would be at Comic-Con, but this is the first time in 10 years, ignoring the COVID year. Well, no, I guess it's still true even without that. The first time in going to Comic-Con for 10 years that I didn't go to Comic-Con. And during those exact dates, I was in Cancun, as I mentioned not too long ago.
We all made sure to
Kevin
hit
was
a
also
place
at
that
Comic-Con,
starts
right?
with C. So if you weren't at Comic-Con, you're at Cancun. You had to have two C's, a couple letters apart. We both hit them. So it was like you were there.
Damn. Basically.
Imagine there was a Cancun.
But yeah, both of you were...
Cancun, that'd be triple C at that point. That'd be just C3. That'd basically be a video game
C3.
expo. Yeah, that would be
man.
where Nintendo went because they weren't at Comic-Con this year. They went to C3.
Well, I will talk about this later, but yeah, there was one thing there that almost felt like IP extravaganza, which is kind of what Comic-Con is. But yeah, I mean, you've all been good. I mean, hopefully you've both been well. I mean, outside of the said souvenirs Jason mentioned.
Yes.
Like, I mean, I've been a little under the weather today. I actually missed work for the first time in forever just because I wasn't feeling well enough. Thankfully nothing horrible, just a little stomach flu.
And it really goes to show your podcast work ethic. Maybe not your real work ethic, but your podcast work ethic, because here you are still recording.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if I worked from home, I probably would have still gone.
No.
Maybe.
Let's just let it linger that the podcast ranks significantly higher in your life than any other thing you do. Let's just leave it at that.
We'll give it this time.
Yeah.
But not going over to reminded me that, yeah, I haven't really seen too many shows this year. I was actually looking at, or consumed a ton of media. I have my handy dandy media consumed document, and the last series I started, not anime, was Ted Lasso in May, and that was the season 3, which I finished, but I haven't finished or started season 4.
There is no season 4, officially.
Oh, never mind. Then I finished season 2, and I haven't started season 3. And yeah, as far as new anime goes, I haven't finished or started anything since My Hero Academia on June 19.
Is this why you're hosting? Because you had to squeeze in a way to talk somehow. So you're like, well, if I don't have content, I'll play host.
Basically, yeah. Like even video games. Like actually, no, I did right here that I started Final Fantasy VII. I did start it in January, and then I basically had to replay it because when I took my Switch on the plane right to Cancun, my file didn't save, so I had to replay the first 20 minutes. The part of the bombing rush mission. And I actually had to do that 2 more times because it didn't save again. I have now gotten a hang of the saving system, so don't you worry. I don't have to replay the same part 4 times. But I think I'm an hour in, and yeah, it's interesting. Cloud is mopey. I don't know what his deal is. Looks up to some guy named the legendary Sephiroth. Well, I guess I have to figure out what his deal is. Hopefully, I mean, they say always meet your heroes, so hopefully that turns out well. And I guess, yeah, other than that, I rewatched Into the Spider-Verse, and damn, I still love that movie. Actually, yeah, we'll just start with that.
Wait, didn't you also see Across the Spider-Verse?
Yeah, but that's not as important as into.
I
But
think I'd
Sure.
argue right now it's probably more important. It just crossed, I think, 700 million worldwide.
Which is like double what the first
damn,
one did, even though the first one obviously went on to be a huge cult favorite. Yep.
that's pretty cool. Actually, yeah, fine. Let's get into Across the Spider-Verse since I did finally see it. I know both of you saw it opening week.
I
About.
think so. I don't remember. It's been a minute.
Yeah, it's been.
I'm pretty sure you saw it the weekend it came out because I remember Elvis being there that first week.
That's right.
Jason, who knows?
I think I saw it opening weekend too, actually, because we didn't want spoilers. And I saw it in Dolby Cinema, which looked really good. The movie looked really good with that extra, basically OLED movie screen, for lack of a better term.
Wait, so you've seen it twice and you
No, I've seen it
were able to
once in Dolby.
Gotcha. Wait, so have we talked about this
No, because you
on the
didn't see
podcast?
it,
No, we
which is
haven't.
why I was like, let's
Oh.
talk about it. Yeah, we did
wow,
like a
alright.
very passing. I think Kevin and I did like 2 sentences or less summary of what we thought. But now that we've all seen it, and now that's been out, though, I could probably actually talk about it, and I guess potentially warning spoilers. But yeah,
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's my super quick 2 sentence summary. I really liked it. I liked the first one more, but the second one is still really good.
I'm like split on whether
Yeah.
I like this one more or not.
It's
I'm kind of torn.
weird because like it's one of those like if I put them in a vacuum because it's weird. It's like it feels like one long movie, you know, like where it just builds on the first one. So everything I liked about the first one is in the second one, but more refined and just more. So I could say it's a better movie, but without the first one, like as its own thing, it's definitely not as great because you need a lot of everything that the first one set up.
But I feel like that's true with a lot of movie
Yeah, I mean,
sequels, right?
I mean,
Like, is
yeah,
that a knock against it, or like
no,
you're not going
yeah,
to be able
that's
to
why.
enjoy Far From Home if at the same level if you hadn't seen the other Spider-Men, you know, like you said, they build off each other.
The Tom Holland ones are an interesting one because I feel like me personally, I would have enjoyed each one. I could see them all separate.
Even Far From Home, which was basically like, remember these other ones?
You mean No Way Home?
I mean, No Way Home. No, yeah, I meant No Way Home. Sorry, No Way Home.
Yeah, like Far From Home.
Yeah,
like,
no,
goes
yeah,
to
Far From Home was a
wherever
random
he goes.
poll, if that's what I meant. No, I meant No Way Home. Thank you.
Yeah, actually, well, I mean, if I hadn't seen any of the other Tom Holland ones, I probably still would have enjoyed No Way Home as much just because I
No,
did
that's
watch
what I
the other
mean. That's what I
ones.
mean. Let's say you never saw the Toby one. Let's say you never saw the Andrew Garfield
Yeah,
one.
then it
Like,
definitely do the line. Yeah, so it's tough for these. Actually, I mean, even in a vacuum, I think this movie still holds itself very, very well. But I mean, it's literally because I'm just trying to figure out like which one I like more, which feels like it's still the first one, but damn, the second one comes really close. Like I think the only my easy tiebreaker is I guess like how many times I felt like very emotionally pulled like to tears, and I think the first one definitely beats it in that
It's like,
for now.
it's like
We'll see.
there's no scene in Across the Spider Verse that I guess is as emotional as the What's Up Danger scene
yep,
in Into the Spider
exactly,
Verse.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. There and
Honestly, even just
likewise,
like his dad talking to him like from across the door when he's tied up, like that one felt like really, really, really great.
yeah. I
Especially
feel
when I
like
saw it again
the
yesterday.
individual highs aren't quite as high, but as a whole, I think they did a really good job with like being essentially having carte blanche once they showed that they knew what they were doing and started winning awards and stuff and getting all that acclaim, basically being able to go crazy and do all sorts of different stuff with the art and different art styles and have like the color palette shift to represent moods throughout the movie. Like it's really cool how they played with the art beyond what they did in the first one, but I don't think there's any one standout moment like the What's Up Danger falling upside down, that whole, they even tried to recreate that at one point. It just didn't hit the same way because that was just such a flash in the pan, lightning in a bottle sort of whoa. And this one has a lot of great moments, but I don't know if there's a whoa, if that makes sense.
Yeah, there was just a lot of oohs.
Yeah, there's a lot of
Yeah, the
oohs and
cliffhanger.
ahs, but I don't know about woes. And neats and cool, but I don't know about whoa. Yeah, at least for me.
And I mean, it has a tough job of being like, the middle of a trilogy. I feel all three of us knew it was a part two of three going
Yeah,
in. It sounded like a lot of people that I knew that watched the movie had no idea it was going to be like a part two of three, so they were really caught off guard by how it just ended.
that was.
And
I had the opposite experience. Oh, sorry, finish what you're saying, then I'll say what I was gonna say.
but I was gonna say like, but otherwise like I don't know. I don't think I had that same kind of impression that people had where it just felt like it ended. It felt like it had a build up. It felt like it had a cool down, and then it felt like it's obviously a cliffhanger ending. A cliffhanger gets a cliffhanger ending, but it didn't feel like it just ended out of nowhere. If that makes any sense. It felt
Yeah, no, I had the opposite problem
paced.
where I heard it ended extremely abruptly because a lot of people were like, "Well, it just ends." So I was like on guard for that to happen. So I felt there were like 5 times I thought it was going to end and it didn't end. It just kept going. I'm like, "Oh, okay." Like there's so many moments where I'm like, "Oh, this is the cliffhanger," and then it kept going. I'm like, "Oh, this is the cliffhanger," and then it kept going. So I had like the opposite problem
You don't,
where I
you guys
kept
don't
kind of
remember how it was
waiting.
billed as part one?
What?
You guys don't remember how it was billed as part one?
It wasn't. It wasn't. It doesn't say it
Sort
on the
of.
It
posters or
was.
anything.
Well, it
No,
was. Yeah. Wasn't
it
it just like
originally was billed as part one
Yeah,
of part two, and then out of nowhere they just decided to
dropped
retitle
it.
the third one.
Yeah. Yep. But because I remembered that legacy of it being one of two, it made the ending like the ending felt not drawn out because it kept ramping up, and I was like, okay, but I kept thinking like, oh, this is where it like it made the movie feel 20 minutes longer than it would have felt to most people, I suspect, just because I kept being like, this is the end. Oh, nope, nope, that's the end. Oh, nope, okay, like it was weird, like the opposite problem.
yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, obviously, I didn't do. I mean, I knew that much, so it's not like I was incomplete. I mean, I was pretty close to complete radio silence as far as this movie goes. I mean, I knew that much,
I saw
but
the first teaser trailer and then just saw nothing else.
mhm.
I avoided the rest of it
I
like the
saw. I
plague.
think the
And I was
second
very glad I
trailer.
did.
Yeah, I saw the second trailer. I was like, there's too much here. Even I can tell, and I didn't watch anything beyond that.
Oh, and then
And
I
sure
saw a
enough,
fake spoiler.
a fake spoiler.
Yeah,
Huh.
I saw a thumbnail to what was supposed to be like a new trailer that just ended up being fake. So I was
Oh,
very glad in that regard.
that's good.
Nice. Yeah, well, definitely really enjoyed it. Definitely want to watch it again. Can't wait for it to come out on 4K Steelbook, which I already pre-ordered.
And you're gonna have to just
Although,
keep watching it over and over because part 3 or part 2, part 3, however you want to word it, Beyond the Spider-Verse is delayed indefinitely because of the strike. So enjoy part 2 forever and always.
that's fine.
No, it's good. It's good. The
So is
people
that
that
part
the
one?
writers and the actors are getting what they need. Like they should be striking. But my
Oh
point
yeah,
is like who knows when we're seeing part 3. So
yeah. I think even before the strike, like it felt like there was no way they were going to get to finish this in less than a year.
mhm.
And I think even like some of the FX artists or animators like echoed that remark, almost like they didn't pick the deadline. But yeah, we'll see when the next one comes out. Whenever it comes out, probably gonna be a good while, but
Do you have a
we'll be there.
favorite Spider-Man from the new crew in Beyond the Spider-Verse?
Not really. None of them. None of them really. I think I just like Spot.
Yeah, Spot was cool. I
Like
like
they're
Spot.
all like I enjoyed them all. I didn't dislike any of them, but I don't think I'd consider any like a new favorite or a new like oh I like this character.
Right. I know a lot of people lean towards
Yeah,
Spider-Punk, but yeah, nothing for me was quite
Spider Punk is cool, but
nothing quite
No,
hit like Spider-Ham or Noir Spider-Man or whatever his name was. Those
Spider Punk stole the show for me for sure.
did he?
Yeah, he was way too cool to be in that movie. Like I would absolutely watch an entire series or entire film trilogy starring him. I thought he was awesome.
I really did like how they had his art like all kind of like non-conformist in terms of how they did in the same way he like the way they represented either on the nose or more subtly every sort of thing happening in the movie through the visuals was super cool. Like keep thinking back to like how they did the art for Spider-Gwen when she was interacting with her dad throughout the movie and how it got like more abstract and more like cool toned at one point and it like switched back. Like it is really cool how they did that.
Yeah, they had a lot of fun with that for sure. I
Yeah,
mean, I think it took them 3 years to animate Spider-Punk just him,
that's crazy.
which is pretty impressive. I mean, he definitely seems like someone that deserves their own team. I mean, even being animated on threes, I think was great. You could definitely tell. I feel like this movie, if you didn't like the first one for its visuals, you're gonna hate this one for its visuals because it just kind of doubles down on. I guess it's doing like literally just pushing the animation medium to its limits, which who knew like many years from now that I feel like Disney has long been the just kind of their studio.
Hmm.
Like it's kind of sad to say, but like Disney and Pixar for a good number of years, like even like yeah, I enjoy Soul, but I don't think I've watched a Disney or a Pixar movie. I don't remember the last time. Even Toy Story 4. Toy Story 4 I had to watch 2 or 3 times before I felt like I really got it. The first time I felt like I felt nothing. Um, but yeah, I don't know. It's interesting that Sony and even especially DreamWorks. I mean, well, I haven't seen Ruby Gillman, Teenage
No
Kraken,
one has that movie
but
bombed. So, but
it feels like they also barely marketed it. Like when I first heard of it, it was because of a poster
yeah,
at City Walk. And I was like, oh, is this like an actual DreamWorks movie? Or are they just publishing it? Like, what's going on here?
I saw
Like,
I saw a trailer for it with Guardians 3, I think. And I was sitting there like, what is this and how is it out in 3 weeks and I've never heard of it? Like it just came out. It felt like such a play from like remember like back in the day when DreamWorks and Disney it'd be like, oh, here's A Bug's Life. Well, here's Ants. Here's Finding Nemo. Well, here's Shark Tale. It felt cut from that. Like here's Little Mermaid. Well, here's the other side of that story with Teenage Kraken Girl. Like I don't know. It was just something about it. All of it just felt very strange
yeah.
to me. And they made it
It's
seem
just
like it was based on a
basically,
book, but it wasn't. Like they put like the name on it, like it was an author, but it wasn't. It was a completely original story. Like there's just so many oddities about it. I don't know.
I feel that just marketing in general recently has let down a lot of these animated movies, like that movie, um, Strange World.
Mm,
Which has anybody
yeah.
mm,
seen that?
I have not, but I've been
nope.
meaning to check it out on Disney Plus now that it's there.
Like Elemental, that the latest like Pixar movie.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good
Which is
one.
slowly recouping its money.
No,
I don't
that's
know
a
if
really
we'll
good one
make
because
it in
that's like a
time,
sleeper
but
hit. Yeah, that made it look like it was Inside Out, but not like Inside Out Inside Out diet, Inside Out light. But apparently, it's actually quite good. But the marketing gave no indication it was anything more than Inside Out with elements.
I
So
think like there was another
yeah.
DreamWorks movie, or I forgot what it was, but I think there was like another animated movie that just bombed because like there's absolutely no marketing. Oh no, it wasn't an animated movie. It was the Haunted Mansion. Because
oh
I
yeah,
Oh,
didn't see
yeah.
a single thing for that
outside
movie.
of theaters, I never saw any
They
advertising
went
for it.
kind of big at Comic Con, but they didn't announce they were doing anything at Comic Con. You just had to like find out through word of mouth. Like they had a whole offsite. We'll talk about Comic Con later, but they had like a whole activation you could go through, and it was cool. And it was like you walked through like the dining room of the ride, like you're in the dining room instead of on the buggy above the dining room. And they like recreated the whole thing. You get a poster and there's photo ops. Never was announced, just by word of mouth. About 30 minutes before it opened, you could hear it was happening. So strange how they're treating that movie.
Real shame. Real shame. But hopefully that changes later after the writer's strike. Hopefully. I mean, hopefully there's a lot of changes in general. But, I mean, that being said, we do have Ninja Turtles this week, which
Yeah,
I'm obviously very excited about.
that's something I'm really
But,
excited about with animation in general. Is Spider-Verse basically opened the door to not having that same sort of CG look that every anime movie had for a long time, where it's like, oh, it's cartoony, but it's realistic. But you know what I mean? Like they all look kind of the same. Like it's really refreshing
yeah, but
that
now
now
I
they're all looking
hope.
like Spider-Verse, but it's really refreshing that they're branching out a little
Yeah,
bit.
but that being said, though, like, even between those, like, I feel like they're still doing a better job of differentiating themselves from Spider Verse
Yeah,
than even just like the generic Pixar. Because I mean,
yeah,
Puss in Boots just kind of borrowed a little bit of the frame rate style and some of the things, which I think that I've always been there. Just as Spider Verse, like really hit it strong. Like I mean, it just had a great story, great music, great animation, great visuals. It hit everything. But yeah, Puss in Boots, I feel like mainly borrowed just like the frame rate more than anything, and just had a more flat art style.
right. And the eyes not
But
being like
but
3D.
Turtles definitely, I guess, could be argued has more of a Spider-Man DNA in it. But that one for sure, at least like from like what I remember from like the early trailer, Like it's just way more rough. Like it's a
Hmm.
very rough looking film. Like almost intentionally supposed to look like sketches in the art of the movie where it's like, oh, we're in the planning stages. Bam, that's what the movie's gonna look like.
What's interesting is
Which is which is visually really cool.
in the footage, it almost has a like a claymation vibe, like a sketchy claymation. I don't know how better to describe it. It's like claymation with like line art on top of it. Like I don't know how better to describe it. I know you haven't necessarily consumed all the trailers and stuff, but like it's interesting. It kind of does find its own lane a little while still looking very Spider-Verse.
Yeah. Well, kind of. Did you have any other closing thoughts on Spider Verse across into
Beyond,
beyond?
I'm good. Oh, I have one thing I said when we did our 2 sentence summaries. I'll say it again, but I'm modifying it. Soundtrack, like score across the Spider-Verse was better than Into. Soundtrack, like album inspired by. I think the original might take the cake, even though they got Metro Boomin for the second album, which is quite good. It's grown on me a lot, but still, I think the original Into the Spider-Verse soundtrack of the two is probably a little better. That's my thoughts from
Yeah,
this.
you're talking
Yeah.
about the score.
No, not the score, the soundtrack, like the
No, but you're saying for across,
the score is
the
better.
score is better for second.
Yes.
Yeah,
And for
yeah. I
soundtrack,
totally
the
agree.
first is better. Yeah, yeah. And they kept all the music cues and stuff were relevant, but like it was a really good soundtrack. Score. Yeah. So that was my last thought.
Let's see. Well, to kind of pivot it into like the complete opposite direction, huge screens, bombastic soundtracks, it sounds like. Actually, very quick question. I mean, did you both already see Barbie or Oppenheimer?
If I didn't have COVID, probably would have.
Oh,
So not yet.
yeah, it just seems weird because it's a Christopher Nolan movie and you seem to be
I'm
all
I'm
over
aware, but I've
the
been on
Nolan.
quarantine since I got back from Comic-Con.
Huh.
I was supposed to see it Wednesday, but I'm going to have to move that for obvious reasons. But
I feel like that just normally wouldn't stop you anyway.
no,
But,
I care more
power to
about
you.
not getting people sick than open. It's not going anywhere. It's going to be in IMAX for at least a couple weeks. I'll be in the clear by probably next weekend. So
I respect the change in you,
What?
and yeah, that's
Are
awesome.
you okay? Yeah, thank you. I guess
I desperately want to see it in IMAX 70 millimeter,
that's
but like
yep.
there's no good seats anywhere for that.
Kevin, we'll make plans after. Let's take this offline, as they say in the business world. But there might.
I hate that. I hate that so much.
I hate it so much too.
I think didn't we just
there
talk
may be
about,
a way.
we talked about this, didn't we?
We did. But yeah, if you want to,
It was either on the
join,
podcast or like in person.
I think it was on the
I think
podcast.
it was just in person.
No,
Really?
it was last episode.
I hate let's take this offline.
Let's circle back on that. Let's put a pin on that and take it offline. And no, but seriously, after we record, I might be going when seats open up a little, and I already have some tickets. I'm moving, so there might be opportunity for you to tag along if you want to come.
Where are you watching it?
Chinese theater, ultimately. In the
TCL.
future. Yep.
Yeah, that's also where that's pretty much where I want to go see it. But
Yeah, going with. We're gonna drop a friend's name. Going with Eric. So, but we have more tickets. We can add more tickets. So.
well, we'll see.
Yep.
Once we
And
take
now
it
the rest
offline,
of the
course.
world gets to hear our plan. One day, world, we're seeing Oppenheimer with a friend named Eric.
Wow. Well, I guess as I was saying, yeah, to go from like the super big screen to a super tiny screen, and from like long form media to short form media. I think I've been meaning to bring this up many podcasts ago, but yeah, I finally started watching.
Oh yeah,
Suits.
I forgot.
God.
You wanted to talk
And,
about this?
I know. And nothing against Suits per se, but no. I know what you're going to say, and I do not approve. But go ahead, continue.
Yeah, I got into so earlier when I said I hadn't been watching any new series. I guess it was kind of a lie because I feel like I've seen pretty much all the Suits. I definitely saw an entire arc of a character lying their way to get into a law firm, their ups and downs,
think
and
that's
their apparent
literally-
death out of nowhere.
I think that's
And I was like,
season
what
one,
the
but
heck?
Yeah.
And their death?
Oh, no,
All the way
never
to their
mind.
mar-
I didn't catch that part.
Up until they get married and then they die?
Oh, spoilers for Suits, I guess. But
Well, I didn't say who, but
Now-
I
now
guess
people
how you
know.
can piece it
Someone dies.
together.
Yeah.
Yeah, someone dies. Everyone's
Wait, but let's talk about how you're watching Suits, not that you're watching Suits.
So while I never really got into TikTok as like my app or site to consume media, I did start doing the YouTube Shorts. Like sometimes I'll just like swipe through them. They've been pretty pretty well. The algorithm has been pretty good, and just like picking out like stuff that I would be interested in, whether it's like something rhythm related, video game related, quick little Smash Brothers clips. Like it's been surprisingly like good. Like I'm just like, oh, like something to just like kill a couple of minutes or something. But at some point, it started throwing random sitcoms at me and whatever dramas, I guess. I think it first started with Young Sheldon, and because they're like 30 seconds long, it didn't feel like I'll just watch it. Like, well, how bad can it be? And yeah, like some clips were kind of cringy or like something was like, oh, okay, I can see why I wouldn't watch this. I think over time, I think I started watching enough Young Sheldon in this format, and because I guess the algorithm knew, or I guess depending on whose clip I saw, I guess they knew to keep them chronological. I pretty much saw what felt like, because I mean, I didn't realize the whoever plays Sheldon in Young Sheldon started playing him when they were really, really young, because I saw what basically felt like his elementary school days to his skipping to high school, skipping to college, to him being basically like a young adult. And I feel like I basically got a recap of the whole series in 30-second chunks. And then before I knew it, I basically saw Modern Family that way, and Suits, and
This is psychopath
that
behavior, by the way.
and that 70s show again.
Oh, God.
And
I don't know what.
and I guess they were interesting enough to watch, but not interesting enough for me to pursue the full length show.
I don't know what is more of a red flag that you're going to be a serial killer. I'm not sure if it's that you used to watch shows backwards or that you're watching them in TikTok clips, but neither of them are that of a healthy person, Angel.
They're that of a busy person that ain't got time
No.
to watch all these shows.
Psychopathic.
So being, it's like eating television cereal or serialized cereal. It's just like little cereal bits.
But you eat a bowl of them.
Bite-sized.
You don't just eat a Chex. You have a bowl of Chex. You don't eat
Good
a Cheerio.
point. So
They're
it's more
Cheerios.
like, yeah, it's like eating one Starburst at a time per day over the course of, no, not even per day. It's like sometimes I'll go like days without seeing the next installment in What Happens in Suits, or if Suits made it out okay, and then I'll be like, oh, cool. Looks like Suits issue got resolved. Now we'll see what Suits does next.
So you're saying
And-
so it's like you buy a Starburst, but then you take like 2 weeks to eat the whole package.
More like 2 weeks. 2 weeks to eat one.
Okay, again,
Like, I'll eat it,
psychopath
like-
behavior. I'm not. You're not helping your case here.
But
Who does that?
But the difference is that it doesn't get stale. Like it doesn't dry out. It's still as fresh as when I first bit it. So you don't necessarily feel like you're in a rush to finish it. You just consume it. And then if for whatever reason the next Starburst you get has to be a completely different flavor, and you almost lost track of like, wait, well, how is this connected to the first one? You just kind of write it out, and then you hope that the next clip will somehow tie it together. And sometimes it does. Half the time it doesn't. You just kind of have to go with the time skips. I think Lewis is okay.
Who's
I think
Lewis?
that's where we left
Who's
off.
Lewis? Is that the person you murdered
He-
because you're a psychopath for doing this? Who's
He
Lewis?
seems to be one of the main suits. There's a guy named Mike who's also one of the main suits. And I guess there was this woman that I guess got married in real life to
Yes.
royalty and had to leave the show or
correct.
something.
Prince Harry and it was Prince Harry, right? Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Huh. Interesting.
They live up near
British.
our alma mater. They live up near Santa Barbara now.
Yeah, my only thing with the show, I can see why some people enjoy it, but for me, it's kind of everyone in that
Don't act
show.
like you don't enjoy it. You're watching it on TikTok.
Are you in a position where you're allowed to do this? I don't think you are.
I think so because I think I've seen enough. Essentially,
How do
from
you
what I've
quantify enough?
gathered,
How many minutes do you think you've watched in total? 12?
a couple hours.
Jesus Christ.
Kevin,
There's
why
been
are
a
we
lot of
friends?
clips.
Why are we friends with this man? I don't
I
understand.
So here's the thing. Not that I do this too, but I get a lot of those clips for like what's that one show with Norman Bates?
Bates Motel?
The actor.
Twin Peaks.
He like plays like an autistic
Twin Peaks.
No.
What?
He plays like an autistic doctor. And I'm not like
Oh, the
insulting
good
him or anything like that.
doctor.
The Good Doctor. There we go.
Doctor. Yes.
Like every now and then I'll get clips of that.
Oh yeah, House.
And I'll just watch.
Not
And I'll just watch it. I don't know why. I just will.
I
I've
never
probably
have
seen maybe about an hour of The Good Doctor via TikTok.
never have
There
I
you go.
ever
Even someone that is willingly
so-
acknowledges that they don't, it's not something they like, like to do. They just
never have I
before you know it, you
felt
could
so
so
out
hour,
of
and that goes
touch.
through various hours.
Never have I felt so much like a boomer as right now. Like I know people are like, oh, the NPC trend, like that's like I don't get it. The Gen Z's crazy. I was like, okay, fine, that I see why they're doing it. I don't understand this. I don't understand. I feel like I'm like in a world that no longer exists where people sit down to watch their shows.
Honestly, it kind of fits with my general philosophy of like
I'm not caring about the content, just getting to the end.
Well, kind of like, because, in essence, it's like sometimes I just want to know a synopsis, and that's kind of it. Like, sometimes, like, I just don't care enough about them to properly watch it, which, yeah, there's a lot of arguments to be made that, like, well, you should still give it a shot anyway and see if you do like it.
Like you did
And
with
yeah,
Severance.
Yeah, but Severance, I don't know, call it intuition. But sometimes there's like shows where I'm all like, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna like this one, so I will wait. Like for Severance, if those clips came out for Severance, I would skip them. But
so you do
for
have
something
the
like
willpower to
Suits,
skip. You're just choosing not to. Interesting.
but yeah, like for stuff that I know, like I would want to consume properly. But for something like Suits, Young Sheldon, and whatever else I mentioned, House, Modern Family, I don't see those like being in my regular rotation, let alone something I would pursue. I know what they're generally about, and they still don't seem like something that appeals to me as far as something I want to continuously watch. But give it to me in 30-second chunks, sure. And I've definitely seen enough of Suits to, I don't know, I just be entertained by it. But yeah, like I think my biggest problem with it is that everybody in that show is Sherlock Holmes, like or everyone is Psych, the main dude from Psych.
His name's
his
not
name?
Psych, but sure. Yes.
John
Oh
Psych.
yeah, and you know,
Jo-
John Psych.
Johnny D. Psych. Yes.
But yeah, like literally everyone in that show is like they say something they're like, "Oh, you came in. Oh, you're a little late. Oh, I see that little thing on your cuff tells me that you saw this woman last night. That means you did this, blah blah blah." Like everyone is like a savant, and when everyone is a savant,
Nobody's
it
a
just
savant.
kind of makes it not as yeah. I feel like, at least from the clips that I've seen, like I get that vibe, and it just kind of feels like okay, so you're all uber geniuses. Like it's not super exciting all the time, but there is just enough little drama, or at least personalities that come with these savants that I guess make it interesting enough to keep watching it in YouTube short form.
I will say, because you evoked House as an example, that is the one show I've only seen through clips, and those are all clips of him playing his Game Boy. I've seen every game that House has played on House, but I've not seen anything else from the show ever.
Another Sherlock Holmes / savant.
Yep. It's a whole subgenre.
That's all these shows are. Yeah, that's all these shows are.
Well, yeah, because if you watch someone bumbling around and not knowing what they're doing and never succeeding, what's the point?
No, but that would be funny if it was bumbling around and somehow succeeding. This one everyone is super smart and they're succeeding. So it's like, yeah, cool.
See.
But yeah, I think I think the most interesting part was just like the arc of the Mike character trying to lie their way that like we're in Harvard and that they weren't. But
That was the original premise
Random.
of the show, for what it's worth. They expanded from there, but that guy's story of like kind of weaseling his way into a law firm was exactly the pitch. So that was
what's
the
funny?
premise at one point.
Just based on the clips alone, I thought Lewis and some other guy were the main characters, but then I kid you not, I think it was a couple of days ago that I saw the intro to that show for the first time.
Oh my god!
I don't think it was in a clip. I don't even remember how it came up. I think someone linked it or something. And then when I saw the intro, I'm like, oh, it's these guys' the show. So, yeah. End of thought.
And yet you
Who's
felt you
Jessica?
had the right to critique the show and you didn't even know who the main character was.
I'm critiquing what I thought, whether it's valid or not. That's up to the listener to decide.
All right.
I mean,
all right.
right? I mean,
As long as
we
they don't
critique whatever
chop
we
us
want.
up and watch us.
Wait,
in
what are
their
the-
Doesn't make
second
any
shows.
right. I mean,
One of the main
I mean, it's no
characters
different
from
than-
Psych is in the show.
Who from Psych is
oh
in
yeah,
Suits?
they are.
Crap,
it
what's his
Lassie?
name? Gus.
Oh, yeah. Actually, I did know that. Yeah,
Yeah, I remember seeing a clip with him, and I'm like, oh, there's this even more psych. in
Gus.
this, but,
Gus gets around. Like that guy's in a lot of stuff. Like you start to notice him everywhere. He's in like I forgot what else. There are a couple other shows I was watching. I was like, oh, it's Gus.
he's in a Marvel or Star Wars show. He's in one of those.
It might
I think I saw a clip.
be
of something.
Marvel. I don't remember which though, but I do remember seeing him. Yeah.
But yeah, I guess besides that, very healthy way of consuming media on the side.
No.
You've been consuming, I think, Pikmin 4 is the only video game I see noted here, so we might as well.
This
give
is how you're going to
Nintendo
distract
and
me
random
from
Nintendo.
dwelling on the fact that you're going to come over and murder me after this, after revealing your psychopathic tendencies, is by getting me to talk about
I
Pikmin.
mean, why you think that doing that would lead to murder is your prerogative? If anything, I would assume
Show
that
me
someone that
evidence
does that.
it doesn't. I know that's the worst type of counter argument.
Show me evidence it doesn't lead to someone just being a bigger gift giver.
Actually, sure. You want
Because
that
they're-
to be the reality? Sure, I'll take bigger gifts. Sure. That works.
Yeah.
Happily. All right, take back everything. You're not a sociopath. You're a very giving man. You're going to give me the best gifts.
But yeah,
That
so that was
aren't
Pikmin
murder.
4, and disappointing realization that it's not true co-op,
Yeah, okay. So,
which is not a factor for you.
no,
I
it's not, but I get what you mean. Because the thing with Pikmin, though, is like, they always keep moving things. Like, it always feels like a numbers game in a way, right? Like, I mean, obviously you're managing Pikmin in large numbers, so you got numbers. But I mean, like, as a series, it feels like Pikmin's always one where they're trying to, like, add and subtract and move things, and co-op was what kind of got stuck this time. Because, like, it's almost like Nintendo's managing the game, I guess, like how you would your Pikmin. Like, the first had the time limit, and then the second removed the time limit, but then put in underground caves. And then the third got rid of those caves, but put in, like, this fruit juice thing, which is kind of in between having a time limit and not having a time limit, like a progress thing. And then, they had the captains and the gamepad, but then they got rid of all that. And now the fourth one has it back down to one captain, but they brought back the caves, but they removed the fruit juice, but they now have some, like, RPG, like, diet RPG vibes with Ochi and upgrades, and yet they ditched the full co-op experience, like you're saying, which I know you definitely aren't a fan of. It's just interesting how this series doesn't just, like, move forward. It, like, zigzags all over the place. And I think what's kind of interesting is that if you kind of, from my experience with Pikmin 4 so far, if you kind of look at how they try to balance all this, how it manages its resources, if you want to put it in Pikminese, I get the distinct vibe that Nintendo is trying to appease every type of Pikmin player they can, except for maybe the co-op ones. Angel, you got left out in the cold, I think. But in terms of, like, everyone else, it really feels like this game is trying to find, like, the balance between all the other Pikmin. And I think it does it pretty well. I mean, like, if we start with, like, I don't know, the environments, I guess. We could talk about that. Like, there's no time limit. There's no juice collecting. It's just, like, you're Pikmin, Ochi, you're out exploring as long as you see fit, as long as there's daylight. But it has, like, kind of a more approachable vibe. Like, it feels more approachable for casual folk. It allows Nintendo to kind of ease you into some of your systems without feeling overwhelming. There's now, like, resources you can collect out in the world to craft new items for your captain. And the resource collecting feels a little reminiscent of, like, the fruit from Pikmin 3. It's not limiting you in any way, but just the idea you have to find this stuff in the world and bring it back. And you'll want to get some of those resources. Like, you need a headlamp at one point. But you can move at your own speed in doing so. A lot of the items don't even seem to be required. Like, it just feels, on one hand, like it's kind of this more casual, easygoing Pikmin. But then if that's not your speed, if you like Pikmin kind of more fast-paced, tighter action, you've got the underground caves again. And so far in my experience, that's where the challenge actually lies. Like kind of in the past, the caves, the layouts are multiple levels, there's puzzles, there's enemies all crammed into these really small spaces where you have to micromanage and move quickly. And while it doesn't have an actual time limit, but you do need to move quickly because it very often gives the same sense of like needing to be on your toes at a time that it used to give. But again, like this is kind of where Nintendo needs to be trying to better balance everything, for lack of a better term. Like, so if you want that challenge of the underground caves, it's there for the taking. But if you need an assist, you can also use this like rewind feature they add. So the game now has literally it's called Rewind. It essentially serves as a little baked-in checkpoint system. So I'm sure some Pikmin purists are going to write this thing off, and I've even been using it sparingly, much to my own surprise. But for those coming in from the breezier, like above world Pikmin 4 experience and wanting that in these more challenging little underground segments, there's a way to do it. Nintendo gives you a way to do it without necessarily taking away from the vibe the underground is able to recreate for the like more purist Pikmin fans. And that is what I've noticed is kind of the push and pull of the whole thing with Pikmin 4, and I think it works really well. At least from my time with it so far, everything they added that makes it easier for some people has an out for people who prefer it harder. Everything they added that feels kind of like a new thing for Pikmin has an out that kind of feels like an old thing for Pikmin. Like even the camera angle. Like I totally like they dropped, I'm sure you guys noticed, they dropped the camera angle down. It's more your like boots on the ground. I think it's really cool personally. It does a really good...
I think that was the first thing they revealed,
yeah,
right? Look at Pikmin 4 and look at our new camera.
You're right over the shoulder. It's like a third-person game now. And I actually, like I started saying, I do really like it. Like I think it does a great job of letting you see all the details of the world, of which there are numerous. Like the game looks great, handheld and docked. But it also kind of makes you feel like you're like really more directly in the action since, we are back to controlling a single captain that represents you, the player. And that captain actually is customizable for the first time. So it really can be you, how you want to be in the game, with limits, of course. But so I kind of see like the lower camera plus the customization. I see what they're going for. But if you do want more of a Pikmin, like purist experience with the zoomed out camera, you can reposition the camera. You just zoom it back up and you can basically go right back to the old way of playing it with no problem. So like that's another example of how they kind of like they changed something, but it's if you still like it the old way, you can have it the old way. Or like Ochi, for example. I think he's a super fun addition in a lot of ways. You can earn and use these things called pup points. They're basically XP to have him then learn various skills. This is like almost like an RPG like element they add to the game. But it's also useful if you want to transport Pikmin through water or bust through walls with certain materials, or if you want to use his charge attack to hit enemies. That's super satisfying. But in terms of his role in like your resource management, what I started to sort of piece together as I was playing is that he is your companion captain. He's a furry Louie, essentially. Because like over time, you're actually able to designate a lot of what you would do with a second captain to Ochi. Even plucking other Pikmin is a skill he can learn. He can learn to pluck Pikmin like you would with a captain. Which also means that, again, kind of this whole push and pull thing, you can choose to manage Ochi how you would a second captain. So if you want to be more hands-on or less, that's fine. It's literally like replacing the one-button swap of Olimar and Louie with just having Olimar jump onto Louie. Like, that's basically the difference. So it's a little different gameplay-wise, but, like, if you want to use Ochi's abilities, which do make the game a little easier and more streamlined, hop on with your Pikmin and he can wade through water, he can move through terrain faster, he attacks enemies with more punch, etc. Like, you can do all that, but again, it's like Nintendo's finding the balance for different types of players. You can use Ochi fully. You can just use him for Ochi-specific tasks that are required by the game. Just like how you could kind of juggle your captains however you want. You can juggle him with your character any way you see fit. There's no, like, right or wrong way to do it, per se, which I think, again, kind of, Nintendo really seemed to be trying to thread that needle. They have new items you can craft. I mentioned you collect resources. These two kind of feel optional. There's emergency kits to revive you if you're knocked out. There's these one-time bombs you can throw to destroy enemies. There's elemental things, like if you don't have any ice Pikmin with you, you can have an ice blast to simulate the effect of freezing the enemies that the Pikmin could do. And again, you can craft these, you can use these, or you cannot. Like, they're not required, really. So, at least so far, it seems like it's, pick your poison, pick your route, pick if you want to be more of a true old-school Pikmin or kind of this newer, more elaborate, maybe a little easier Pikmin. And I should probably stop and clarify when I said easier. I'm coming from a perspective where I don't mind Pikmin not being difficult. I didn't feel the way about Pikmin 3's difficulty that I know like you did, Angel. So maybe these things that seem easy to sidestep to me aren't enough to truly get... Like, maybe you can't sidestep them as easily if you're looking for that pure difficult experience, but since I'm kind of just like loosey-goosey with them, it doesn't matter to me. But I do think they contribute to this broader sense that Pikmin 4 so far just feels like a very like comprehensive, well-rounded package that's trying to hit as many marks as possible. Like they have this, like actually, here's a good example. They have this new thing called Dandori Battle.
Trying to hit as many marks as possible, but ends up hitting none in the process.
No, because I think it's doing it well, all of them. But,
I know,
but
just kidding,
Mr.
just kidding.
Cynical. No, but here's a good example of what I mean. So they have this new thing called Dandori Battles. They showed them in the Nintendo Direct, but to real quick, essentially what they are is you're racing against an opponent. Each of you start with a set number of Pikmin to see, who can basically collect the most weight in treasure and in enemy carcasses, I guess, within a set time frame. So it's kind of like Pikmin 2's two-player mode, except there's no item roulette wheel. In my mind, Pikmin 2's two-player mode is still peak Pikmin multiplayer, but, this isn't bad. But this sort of mode, Dandori or anything similar, would always be an isolated thing in Pikmin, right? Like you have your story mode, then you have this, or whatever the multiplayer is. They actually have worked this into the story mode. It's not just a standalone mode. You encounter Dandori battles against like AI opponents inside story mode. Similarly, there's this new nighttime mission thing. It kind of plays out like horde modes. So basically you need to collect as many glow Pikmin as you can before enemies enter a frenzy state and then they, swarm. And this, again, not an off on the side little mode, baked into story mode, integrated with story mode. Like, it just feels the whole thing from all different options of how you can approach it and how you manage and what the different features are and even camera and stuff like that. Like, all of it being in one comprehensive package just feels like, it feels like Nintendo's covering every angle, every gameplay idea, every type of player, all in kind of like one Pikmin experience. And maybe...
Except for what I want.
Except co-op. Except co-op. But and
because the funny thing is,
go ahead.
Oh, because like you mentioned Dandori battles, which look very similar, to the bingo battles.
They're basically they're very similar, but without the bingo element. Yeah. Those
were easily my least favorite part of the game, and the part that like I actively wanted to avoid playing because I just never found them fun. And to know that they're part of the campaign is almost like, damn it, really? But
yeah, I mean, they're not heavily there so far, but I've had a few.
Yeah, it's a shame because I do feel Pikmin 3 was like the epitome of like Pikmin control, and I know I've said this many times again, but I think like with the Wiimote specifically, Wiimote Nunchuck and the gamepad, like by that point, it was just hard to go back just because of the way they integrated them into Pikmin 3 so well.
Right.
And I mean, I guess how are you controlling this game? Are you using
normal controller,
like double Joy-Con, normal controller?
Well, I was playing more. I've been playing more in handheld than docked, so I've basically been using the two Joy-Cons on the side. But I've been treating
any kind
two
of
sticks.
gyro.
No, actually, I have not used any gyro,
which I guess is good because like obviously when I fell in love with Pikmin, it was on the GameCube days during Pikmin 2, which was just controller, and it's fine. It's just like like once you get the good stuff, it's kind of hard to go back.
I haven't used the gyro.
And, yeah.
There are a few things they're trying to address. Like, obviously, the gamepad. I was saying this is a comprehensive package, and they're covering it from every angle with every gameplay idea for every type of player. I was saying all that over and over, and I think in many ways they are, but there are, there is no co-op. There are shortcomings in not having a gamepad. I think the reason I'm not noticing as much or caring as much because I'm more of a casual player who's utilizing all these options and features and stuff. So I'm finding it to be all pluses, while someone who's looking for more of either a challenge or a co-op or the gamepad setup might see these as more negatives. But they are trying to weave some stuff in. So like if you look at the map, there's now a button that instantly faces your character to where that thing on the map is. Like it tries to like give you shortcuts to get around the fact that you don't just rarely always have this map full screen at the ready to navigate. So, like, that's like you tap a shoulder button and it spins you around and you're facing the right way when you come out of the map. And it's minor and it's not the same, but it's like, I don't want to call it an olive branch to the gamepad purist, but kind of feels like that's what they're trying to do. It's like, oh, listen, we're going to give you the best we can, the closest we can get. And that may be a better way to describe it. Like, for me, like I was saying, because I'm more casual about it, I'm like, oh, these are all great additions. This is all great. I love the balance. I love how you can choose to do this or that, whatever. But maybe it's more like they're finding the best little olive branches they can extend wherever possible to bring in every type of Pikmin player. And maybe not all of them hit. Like I said, for me, it's more pluses and minuses. It's more pros and cons. But, like, that might be a better way to describe the game now that you're, saying your point. That, yeah, it's more like they're trying to keep every player as happy as they can be within the limitations of what Pikmin on a Switch can be. If that makes sense.
Yeah, and all things considered, like, I'm sure it's a finely crafted single-player experience. I'm definitely still looking forward to playing it. But it definitely went from play immediately to I'll play it when I play it.
Right. And I mean,
Kind of like Tears of the Kingdom. Like I still don't know when I'm gonna get around to that one. So I haven't even purchased it. Still sometimes playing Metroid Prime once in a while. Before it's like I play it for a while until I just kind of get annoyed with the controls, which I guess because the game is so short, like you'd think I'd get used to the controls by now, but the fact that I still randomly turned to a morph ball by accident,
right.
like yeah, it's just really fighting muscle memory. But it's like I've beaten the game before, so I'm not in a rush to beat it. But because I'm only playing it in little bite-sized chunks, it makes it harder for me to retain, the actual control.
That muscle memory point makes me wonder, like, how much of me saying, "Oh, it's like bridging all the Pikmin." Like, is Pikmin unique in that because Nintendo keeps changing kind of a lot of the core of it? Time limit, no time limit. Caves, no caves. Gamepad, no game. Like, is it kind of like maybe what Pikmin 4 is doing so well? No, I was just saying maybe it's doing so well, and why I'm liking it so much, and their approach with it is they're able to capture, like, what you remember about each Pikmin. Like maybe they don't have the nitty gritty, but the broad brushstrokes. I know we used to always reference how like Luigi's Mansion on GameCube, you remember it one way and you go back and play it and it looks visually very different, right? Like maybe they found a way to sort of thread the needle between all the touchstones of what you think of when you think of Pikmin and sort of bridge that with a couple new ideas like Ochi and the RPG experience stuff and, that sort of thing. Like maybe that's actually where they're hitting the nail on the head for me is it's not so much the nitty gritty specifics of every Pikmin. It just feels like they're hitting the like touchstones of every Pikmin. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
because it still has the like it still has all the charm. Like it has the funny treasure descriptions. Like very early in the game, you find a Game Boy Advance SP. It's called a Stone of Advancement. Stuff like that. Like the Pikmin themselves still feel as lively as ever. Like it really does. It just feels like the natural progression of Pikmin. I don't know, but yeah. And the more I think about it, I wonder if they just were really good at kind of being like, this is the Pikmin you remember, right? Even if it's not specifically what you, Angel, like Pikmin 4, or what Joe Schmo like Pikmin 2 for. They just kind of plucked the most popular ideas and sort of melded them into something new. Maybe that's what this actually is. I don't know. But it's fun. That's the take. My only complaint, very minor one at that, the game has a lot of dialogue. Like a lot. Like people talk a lot. There's like a bunch of captains. They all talk all the time. But besides that, yeah, I'm really enjoying the game. Ochi's amazing. Like just a fun character, really fun to say. The game's very pretty to look at. It was a long wait for Pikmin 4, but I'm finding it totally worth it so far, at least. So
that's true. I forget that we have been looking forward to the game for a long time.
Miyamoto teased it, saying it was almost done in like 2015, and now here we are in 2023.
Wait, so when did Pikmin 3 come out?
I think 2013.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been a while. They kept re-releasing old Pikmin, and then they gave us Hey Pikmin, and then they gave us Pikmin Bloom, so they've been keeping the franchise warm, but like this is the big push. Like I do wonder.
I mean, they did announce.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's just that the Ice Pikmin and Ochi plushes will be released in Japan in September,
and that's what I was about to get at.
Be able to.
This is the big push.
So they could collect those.
The way Pikmin 4 plays, and I'm saying like it kind of is more approachable. They throw bones to the hardcore, but like they're trying to make it more accessible for those who want it to be. The way they're doing all this merch, the way they're doing all this marketing, the way they ported Pikmin 1 and 2 leading up to... This is Nintendo giving Pikmin the full court press. They're trying to take a B-tier franchise and make it A-tier. And I don't mean in terms of quality, I mean in terms of popularity. Like, they are going hard on marketing this thing. They are trying to make this the next big game. You don't see them do this with a lot. You don't see WarioWare get this treatment. You don't see, a lot of the lesser Nintendo franchises, but they're really pushing Pikmin. And I the more I think about it, the way the game is structured and built and the way it does try and become more accessible with stuff like a rewind feature, things like more casual exploration, but then just leave just enough to keep the core fans happy. Like, this is them mainstreaming this is them trying to make Pikmin a huge new thing. Like a huge franchise on the scale of like Splatoon or something, at least. That's my guess. So, very fun though. Very fun.
Yeah, well, I guess on the other end of the spectrum, still video game related, I see... Oh, yeah, Twisted Metal was a thing. Well, the show with Will Arnett and
Samoa Joe.
Others. That's right.
Before we hit that
Uh-huh.
video game thing, I want to give myself a little shout out. Because I finally hit Omega in Marvel Snap. Probably
Oh, damn.
the most difficult
nice.
thing that I've ever done in that game. God, I hated it so much.
You're about to save my life.
No. Just, God, it was such a pain. I hated every second of it. But I finally made it.
Congratulations.
I'll see to Infinite then.
20 more ranks.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
You could do it. Wait, oh my god, these seasons go by really fast. If I
They're
remember.
about a month long.
Damn, that's pretty fast.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I should have guessed that's as long as Hearthstone. But,
Remember when a season, by definition, was either a time of year or like
an actual season?
9
like
month stretch of television, and now a season is any time a game needs to change something? Like, it's like seasons are so... Like, the term season, I guess it's just evolved, but it's interesting how, like, a month is a season. I used to...
Gotta keep up, old man.
I know. First, I'm complaining about people watching shows on TikTok, and I'm like, I remember when seasons had temperature changes. Yeah, I know. So old.
So that's how you define it? That like, nope, it's not a true season until the temperature changes.
Well, no, the one that actually bothers me isn't even when games use it, because that's a new definition for a new medium, relatively speaking. It's when TV shows are like the Kardashians. Not that I watch, but I see Hulu promoted on their Twitter. It's on season 4. It's been on Hulu for 18 months. How are they on season 4 in 18 months? Like, what? That doesn't make sense. That's not what TV seasons are. Anyway, I'm sorry. I'm old man yells at clouds, except when it's Pikmin. And I'm like, change however much you want. So I'll be quiet.
Or 4 seasons in 18 months? Damn.
Yeah, right? It's crazy. Makes no sense.
But damn. Oh, what deck did you use to get to Omega, though? Or what was like the final stretch? Or was it a couple different decks?
It's been a couple different decks. But the one that like put me over the edge was this mix of a Phoenix Force deck with a Nimrod deck.
Nimrod. Oh, that's the dude that when he dies, he duplicates himself, right?
He duplicates himself on the other 2 locations from where you destroyed him, and then Phoenix Force revives one of your cards, and you can move them each turn.
Oh, damn.
So yeah, so like if you destroy multiple man and you revive him with Phoenix Force, that's 2 good turns where you could just move your multiple man around.
Sounds like Move Deck's got some nice toys.
A lot of people actually do not like Phoenix Force, which I don't know. I think Phoenix Force is a pretty good card. I guess just people don't know how to properly use them, but whatever. Jason was actually saw me go from 1 cube. I was 1 cube away from Omega, and then I lost it in an 8 cube game, and I was so devastated. Jason,
I don't think I fully realized you were at the cusp of Omega when that happened. I thought you were just really bummed you lost. I didn't realize it was to because you were sad. It makes much more sense now.
I was destroyed. And I think I kept playing a couple of games after that, and I went all the way from 89 to like 86 or something.
You also then took my phone and played on mine so you could feel better about yourself because I was so low level that you could just destroy.
Yeah, that was fun. But anyways, back to the other video game, Twisted Metal. Just randomly watched it on the lark. I just like had nothing to see yesterday or like nothing to play, and I remembered that I paid like $2 for a year of Peacock, and then like an extra like $20 to upgrade it to the ad-free version, which was Jesus. That's
how they get you.
Such a good deal. I'm not gonna lie. But
that's a good deal.
I saw 5 episodes. Because I guess they just dropped the entire first season at the same time. But I saw the first 5 episodes, and you know what? It's all right. It's not amazing, but it's like not egregious as some of those trailers made it look. As far as my knowledge into Twisted Metal, I've played a couple of the games. I played a lot of Twisted Metal Black on the PS2. I don't know if you guys ever played Twisted Metal. Jason absolutely never has.
That's correct. I'm a
Vigilante
Vigilante 8
Metal
man.
2. 2 is like the one I played the most, and then a little bit of 3 and 4.
Was there a 3?
That's pretty much it.
I guess 4 was on the Twisted Metal Black.
And let me tell you about Vigilante 8.
I think wasn't Twisted Metal 4 Twisted Metal 4? It was on PlayStation 1.
I think they just went up to 3 and then Twisted Metal. Maybe? I gotta check.
I'm Googling it right now. I could be wrong though.
Oh
You know
no,
what's
you're
easier to
absolutely right.
remember?
I did not know that they went all the way up to 4.
You know, it's easier to remember Vigilante 8 when they then made Vigilante 8-2, which they could have called 16. They didn't. They could have called 10. They didn't.
What are you talking about?
Vigilante 8. The knockoff. The knockoff of Twisted Metal that Activision made for all the other systems is on Dreamcast, is on N64. You could drive as a school bus with guns, you know, totally normal stuff. Have you never heard of Vigilante 8?
I've never heard of that.
It's straight up Twisted Metal, but not.
Someone, I think one of the ultras in Vigilante was like a disco ball, and someone used like a beehive.
It was
like
literally the most egregious,
signature weapon.
like, I'm not Twisted Metal, but I want to be type of a game. Yeah.
Well, okay. Well, I'm not going to talk about the Vigilante 8 adaptation.
You can find that on. I'm trying to think of what lame service would have that. Pluto? I don't know.
Paramount Plus,
Paramount
which
Plus.
I forgot to cancel my subscription for after watching School of Rock, and now I'm stuck with another month. So,
Thank you
good
for
stuff on
funding their. Thank you for funding their free drinks at Comic Con.
Oh, you can watch
Really
the
enjoyed
entire
them.
Scream series on Paramount Plus. Screams
they
1 through
have
6.
shows.
No,
Also,
the entire
Zoe
movies.
102. If you're a fan of Zoe 101 and Jamie Lynn Spears, the sequel movie is out now.
Anyways, Twisted Metal.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the only one that I played like extensively was Twisted Metal Black back on the PS2. And those are, I don't know what genre of gaming, vehicular combat games, I guess would be the only way to describe it. It's almost like a battle, like sort of a battle royale at some points. Almost like one of the very first battle royales to be honest with you. So I'm not sure how closely this adapts the lore, because apparently Twisted Metal does have like extensive deep lore. So I'm not sure how closely this follows the lore. Anthony Mackie plays the main character. He plays an amnesiac named John Doe. The girl from Brooklyn Nine-Nine,
Stephanie Beatrice.
Stephanie Beatrice, yeah, she's also another main character. And in the show, Anthony Mackie plays what is called a milkman, where he's essentially Norman Reedus in Death Stranding, where he delivers packages from like mega city to mega city. Because within the show, 20 years ago, I guess like all the computers, it was essentially Y2K, all the computers went haywire, and the entire world just went to crap. So like these mega cities just put walls around themselves and let all the outlaws and bad people live on the outside. And so Anthony Mackie has his vehicle named Evelyn, with guns attached, and pretty much all the vehicles in the show have guns attached, similar to the game. One issue that I do have with it is there's not a lot of vehicular combat for a Twisted Metal show. There is some sprinkled around throughout the first 5 episodes that I saw. For all I know, there is more later on. But there's not enough there for me to actually call this like a Twisted Metal show. Aside from that, there are characters from the game in here. I think Officer Stone is one of the characters who drives around a police car. And of course, Sweet Tooth is in the show, voiced by, as you said, Will Arnett, but portrayed by Samoa Joe. And I'm kind of disappointed that he's introduced very early, but he's also, I guess, let go of very early. Spoilers for the show. I think he's heavily featured in episode 3, and I don't remember him being featured in episodes 4 or 5 that much.
He's the center of all the marketing, which is interesting.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
Well, it is what it is.
I saw him twerk at Comic-Con. That was a thing.
The show is showran and written by the Zombieland guys, who I really like those guys. They also wrote the Deadpool movies. Like visually, it doesn't look cheap. It does look cheap every now and then, but not incredibly cheap. But it also has this sheen on top of it, which I don't know how to describe it. It's almost like it's a 45 frame a second show, which is really, really unnatural. Now, it might be my TV, but I turned motion smoothing off, so I doubt it's that. I don't know. That's something that I just can't like see past, which is very weird. The comedy is like hit or miss, which is typical of these guys. Like if you've seen Deadpool, there's definitely jokes in that movie that don't hit. Same with Zombieland, and especially Zombieland 2, which I wasn't too fond of, but I love the
Not
first
as
one.
good as the first, yeah.
Yeah. But like, the action is serviceable. There's some weird B plots that I'm not too fond of, but like the main A plot of Anthony Mackie having to essentially go from San Francisco to Chicago and back. There's enough there for me with the comedy, the action, the like non-vehicular action, for me to probably go back and finish up this series. It's not that bad, honestly. The marketing for this show was not the best.
Talk about failed marketing.
Oh, and then too many needle drops. Way too many. Just an egregious amount of needle drops in an episode. When done right, the needle drops are fine. Like, there's an Oasis song right in the first episode, which is actually like really, really fun. But aside from that, there's just way too many other needle drops that sort of kill the vibe every now and then. But that just may be me because I'm not the biggest fan of needle drops when done correctly, like the way that James Gunn will do it in, his movies. They can be fantastic, but I don't know, it almost feels like, hey, we paid for this music, we're going to use it in the show. For all I know, it's all like Sony music, for all I know.
What is the deal with the thong song and this show? Do you know? I don't.
I don't.
But they haven't referenced it yet from what you've seen?
No, yeah. It's exactly that clip from... have you seen the clip?
I've seen the clip and I've seen the song.
I mean, yeah, that's it. That's literally just it. Yeah.
Oh.
There's like no rhyme or reason to it. It just is there.
Because they made that.
That's why I said like the needle drops aren't
don't make sense.
creative.
Yeah.
They're literally just needle drops. It's not like the No Sleep Till Brooklyn part from Guardians 3 or any of the other needle drops there that are like thematically integral to
from the Mario movie.
Peacock, home of all the needle drops. Mario movie's on there later this week.
I'm telling you, I'm willing to bet that all these artists are Sony artists.
Probably or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they made the thong song like the centerpiece of their marketing. So that's interesting that it doesn't really have a greater role.
Yeah, like I said, when the needle drop in the first episode for that Oasis song, I think Champagne Supernova, it's like done really, really well, especially with the visuals that they show. Yeah.
Yeah.
But then, like I said, I guess the thong song one isn't as much as a needle drop as some of the other egregious times that they will needle drop a song.
Okay.
But like I said, yeah, it's still, aside from that Champagne Supernova needle drop, the other ones don't really have anything to do with whatever's going on screen. Like, there's no thematic importance to the needle drops. But aside from that, I'm digging the show. Like I said, I'm gonna finish it. You just gotta watch it on Peacock.
I had no intention of watching it. Then they did the stuff at Comic-Con, and I was like, well, they gave me ice cream. So I was like, maybe I should watch it.
You're way too easy of a mark.
I really am.
You're just a sucker.
Yeah,
well, okay, I should be fair. Hold on, wait.
You might as well jump into
Let's
all
defend myself.
Like,
Let's defend myself.
You might as well
it wasn't
go watch
just
the Haunted Mansion.
I may at some point, but no. Let me defend myself. It wasn't just ice cream they gave me. They brought out Cisco, and he played the thong song live in front of me. Unbeknownst to me, that was going to happen. So, like, I am an easy mark, but they brought out Cisco, and he did his crazy dance moves from the music video, like 15 feet in front of me. So, yeah, of course I have to owe them the song. I mean, the show. I don't know. But that was pure Comic-Con randomness right there. That was...
I mean, at that point, you may as well go into the rest of Comic-Con.
Yeah, well, I don't want to cut off Kevin if he's...
That's all I got to say. That's all I got to say about...
Should we get into Comic-Con then? You were there with me, in fact. Not at Cisco. That was my special moment I had with
started off.
the
I gotta go to the kitchen real quick.
Sure, okay. So yeah, Comic-Con. That's what I love about Comic-Con, actually. The fact that I went to go get some ice cream courtesy of Twisted Metal, and then out comes Cisco, who does a 20-minute set, sings the thong song, and then halfway through the song brings up Sweet Tooth, or a guy pretending to be Sweet Tooth, and Sweet Tooth twerked and danced with his backup dancers. Like, what more do you need from Comic-Con? That's all I got. Thank you for your time. No, actually, in more seriousness, Angel, I think in a way you picked a good year, and in a way you picked a weird year to be gone, because I think going into this year's Comic-Con, which, as you noted, we've been going to for a decade, there were a lot of questions going into this year's show about what exactly a convention would, like, be. As in, like, the show already was kind of coming out of a pandemic funk. Last year felt like most of the major players were, I don't know, like, tiptoeing back into what, like, a post-COVID convention would look like. In terms of offsites, in terms of, like, bigger brand activations. There was cool stuff, but a little less of it, a little less, like, randomness. But then this year, you had kind of the uncertainty of that and the threat and then reality of the WGA and the SAG-AFTRA strikes, meaning that a lot of major players were either being very tepid, either by choice or force, in terms of panels, in terms of celebrities' appearances, in terms of news, and potentially in association with all that in terms of what the offsites could be, right? And I think, first off, I was saying this before when we were talking about the strikes, but I think if this Comic-Con sucked because the writers and actors needed to go ensure that they get their fair share for their work, then Comic-Con should suck. Like, even if this Comic-Con turned out to be a barren wasteland, I'd rather have that this year and know that in future years when we come back to nerd out and celebrate their work is there to nerd out and celebrate. So, like, it would have been fine. But fortunately, I feel like a lot of this Con felt actually surprisingly normal, almost a return to form even. Like, yeah, if you were there to just do, like, the AAA panels in Hall H or see the entire MCU cast or whatever, that was missing. If you enjoy sort of wandering around the show floor and never knowing who you might bump into, which I used to do all the time, there was less of that. That was less of a thing this year, just due to the lack of star power at the show. But I think, like, Comic-Con gained back a vibe that wasn't as full force last year. There's a lot of cool offsites, some actually good free item giveaways, good swag this year, multiple parties, pop-up restaurants, and just the thing that was really missing last year, there's just this feeling of you never know what could happen around you. Like, maybe not in the celebrity sense, but Gaslamp Quarter, you know, right across the street from the convention center, that always felt like the most fun when there were just random things going on. Like, Sci-Fi would bring a marching band and they'd walk down the street playing Mario music, or there'd be, like, random street teams giving stuff out, or dressed up in funny ways, or doing, like, being bellhops from, like, the Bates Hotel, you know, different things like that. And that felt the most lacking last year. And it was cool to see it come back in full force this year, be it, you know, I'm Cisco popping up when I'm just eating some ice cream and doing his set, or, like, Pet Cemetery, they did, like, a funeral procession down the streets, like, just little things like that. I think ultimately that's what I find so fun about Con. It's just, like, the whole downtown, the whole area becomes, like, this one big celebration. And you never know what that celebration will be of specifically. Like, it's a lot like Coachella or a music festival in a way, where you buy your ticket, you can make some educated guesses about who or what might show up, and maybe you're wrong and maybe you're right, but there's always something. Like this year, for example, Nintendo would have been a shoo-in for me, as assuming they'd be there. They've been there every year since we started going in 2011. They were completely absent. They were not there at all. There was no Mario movie merch anywhere, which was weird.
Did they give an explanation for that?
Films. They did not. They just were not there. I mean, I'm sure we could speculate about why. Like, the Nintendo Live next month, they don't have demos from E3 that they can just reuse, which is what they traditionally do. Last year, they brought their summer tour because it happened to be on the West Coast already. Like, they scheduled it as such. This year, the summer tour is somewhere in Texas still. There may have been other location timing commitments that made it so they couldn't get the tour to the West Coast in time. Who knows? But yeah, Nintendo was missing. There's no Mario movie merch. That was a little weird. I would have assumed that would have been there. But I guess my broader point is, you know, you never quite know what you're going to get. And I feel like in the end, for me at least, you're always going to end up having a fun time. There's always going to be cool experiences. There's always something unique. There's always going to be something fun. Even on, like, the quieter show floors here, on Sunday, I was walking around with a couple of our friends, and we came across the booth of a guy named Larry Houston. Never knew this guy, like, who this guy was, but it turns out he produced and directed and basically created the X-Men animated series, as well as worked on everything from, like, Static Shock to Captain Planet. Like, his display was, like, 20 different shows from, like, the 80s and 90s, and it's cool. And our friends, we stopped because they're big fans of the X-Men animated show, And he was doing, he was signing some prints or whatever. But then he started telling us all this backstory of how, like, he and the team, like, he was signing a Gambit print. He's like, yeah, what's funny about Gambit is, like, when Marvel made the character, we had to put him in the show, but they didn't give him a backstory yet. So we kind of, like, made a backstory as we went, and then Marvel, like, reabsorbed it back into the main, like, canon. And he's talking about that. He's talking about, like, the different Wolverine costumes the cartoon used and their origins and the different comics. Like, he was this super nice guy, super passionate about the show that our friends were super into. And it was, like, one of those things that it's just, like, only at Comic-Con do you get a moment like that where you're, like, talking to the dude who created the show that maybe you watched so much of as a kid and get to hear all these, like, inside baseball stories about it. And like, it's stuff like that makes it fun. Like, who could have guessed that, this same year there'd be, like, Samurai Showdown stage shows. Like, FX brought that to promote their upcoming show Shogun, or there's, like, a full, we won't comment on the quality of the food because I know it wasn't good, but there's a full, like, Sonic chili dog restaurant, like, fully themed out. Amazon, the food was bad, right? You ate
Food
mine.
was bad. I ate Jason's hot dog.
Yeah, he did, because I had to run back across the street. I was, again, the thing about Comic-Con, everything's so compact that downtown feels so alive. Like, so we had the Sonic line to get the food across the street from a line to get into Freevee and Amazon's parties. And Freevee had a great party for jury duty. It was well themed, had a bunch of, like, cool little things. You get caricatures of yourself, kind of like like a courtroom sketch artist type of thing. Yeah, like, and those were across the street from each other. And that was down the block from two other things, and around the corner from a Jimmy Eat World concert. And, like, it was just, like, all this stuff was happening, like, so close together that really just, it's a cool experience, cool vibe. And I think this year definitely felt like one of the, for me, like, one of the lighter years in terms of the things at the con that overlap with my direct interests. Again, no Nintendo, but also that's kind of the beauty of it. Like, I still found myself having a really great time doing stuff like a Jurassic Park offsite where you, like, pose on different recreations with like iconic moments from the movie. There's the Haunted Mansion experience that you kind of referenced earlier, Kevin, where, like, you were, and I referenced even before that, where you're, like, in the ride, not just riding the ride, like, you're in a set piece from the ride. Hulu had a cool photo op thing where you could, like, sit on the Simpsons couch or at the Bob's Burger counter, and then they gave away some really nice swag in the form of collectible pins in this really nice box, but more notably, a really nice quality backpack that's made to look like it's 2D, like it's from a cartoon. Actually, the swag this year in general, I thought was the best it's been in years. Like, it was really solid. Paramount Plus had, like, not just this off-site ski lodge thing with free food and drink, but a whole, like, Comic-Con wide scavenger hunt where you scan different things and then you get, like, a nice little tote bag backpack, like mini backpack thing from them. Ninja Turtles, Mutant Mayhem had, like, tech deck style fingerboards with the logo, and if you came at the right time, they also give you free pizza. AMC had, for the Anne Rice Immortal universe, they did this whole, like, walk through New Orleans experience where you would end up getting little bags of sage or rosemary or mint to help fend off spirits. Like, I mentioned the caricatures of jury duty, and Paramount Plus in their ski lodge had the same caricature thing, actually, which is kind of funny, but it was Star Trek themed. Point is, like, it really did feel like Comic-Con of old, even without necessarily having the things that are, like, the shows I care about most, or the celebrities that are most interesting, or the panels that are most interesting. Like, I thought it was a pretty good year. And we got lucky with a lot of stuff, too, this year. Like, Kevin, when you walked into Paramount Plus, just, like, not knowing there's a standby line.
Oh yeah, that was great.
Yeah.
We basically just walked in right through the front.
Yeah,
no one stopped us or anything.
For some quick context for those listening, so Paramount Plus had this lodge I mentioned. You could either get tickets in advance with a set time slot, or go stand in a standby line. Good little Jason over here went and stood at a standby line and held a spot for the rest of the group. I get a call from Kevin 30 minutes later, like, hey, where are you? And I'm like, what do you mean, where am I? And you're just like, we're inside, where are you? And you guys just, like, literally walked in like you owned the place and no one questioned you, right?
Yeah, no one questioned us at all, which is hilarious.
Yeah. And then the real luck came when they, first bad, then good, they then shut down the standby line because we went on in the evening and they were closing, and I was stuck outside. You guys were stuck inside, or you were inside, not stuck. And then you managed to sweet talk me in by pointing out my sad looking face off to the side, and they actually let me in, which was something.
That was pretty funny.
Yeah, it was quite an experience. I really thought I was screwed out of being able to get in, but, like, that was lucky. the Good Omens party that Amazon threw, like we were in the line with one type of ticket and a couple of our friends had a different type of ticket, but they just sort of played dumb and managed to like basically get in with us with the priority ticket, even though they didn't have that ticket. Like the Jurassic Park experience I was mentioning, that had like a crazy line where people were lining up like 6 a.m., told to come back at 2 p.m. Like it was like this ongoing thing. You get a wristband. It's like a 75-person line. It would be like hours of waiting. And then I just happened to see a tweet that's like, hey, there's no wait right now. So I walked right in, no wait. Like there's times at Comic-Con where just like the stars align just right for cool little moments like that where you could just sort of have the best experience. Or the Haunted Mansion thing. Like that wasn't even announced and it was just there. And it was like 25, 30-minute wait. Like that, yeah, I don't know. Whenever I go to something like Comic-Con, I feel like I always try to soak in literally as much as possible, even at the expense of my health in the case of getting COVID or my poor feet, which, yeah, I blame the organizers. They didn't put carpet on the show floor this year as a cost-saving measure. But, like, man, walking 45 miles in 4.5 days and then not having carpet on your feet for a good chunk of that, it hurts. But, yeah, I just thought it was, like, a really fun year, even though it wasn't, like, the highlight year in terms of specific experiences that I wanted to do, if that makes sense. I mean, how do you feel about it, Kevin? Because you moved at a different speed at Comic-Con. Like, you're kind of in... I was in, like, boom, 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 and you were definitely more, like, chill and kind of curating.
Our I don't want to say vibe, I guess. Our speeds are completely different. You like to, like, min-max your experience at Comic-Con. I very much like to go with the flow. I think, like, there's one day where I, like, barely, like, I didn't do anything with you guys, essentially. But that was because I was with a whole different other group of friends.
But to your point, I'm going with the flow. Like, your group of friends did X, so you went and did X. Our group of friends did Y, so then you went and do Y. And I'm like, no, I need to hit A, B, and C, and D, and E. And I, like, ran away and didn't see you guys for 6 hours.
Yeah, so. Like, if anything, I go down there to hang out more than I go to do the experiences and do the whole Comic-Con thing.
Yeah. Which is because a totally reasonable way to do Comic-Con. There's no right or wrong. That's the beauty of it, yeah.
Yeah, and, like, our hotel was basically right next to the convention center, which was really nice.
Oh, we're so spoiled now. We were 2 doors away from the convention, or 3 doors? 3 buildings away from the convention center, 7-minute walk. Once you have that experience, even in a year where there's not a lot of stuff you're buying, oh man, it's hard.
Even though our beds were tiny as hell.
Yeah, we had to share 2 queens that were not queens. There were 4 of us in the room, and I think it was like our beds were like what, twin and a half, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, it was yeah. So it was very very intimate evenings.
It was like
in our
if we were to put the beds together, it was essentially the size of 3 twins.
Yeah. It was weird, but it was so nice to be so close to the convention center and be like in the thick of it all. Like nothing was further than a 15-minute walk.
And the gas lamp was right there. Yeah, it was
it was really
cool. Great. The only thing that I pretty much just wanted to do was Junji Ito. I apparently this was like his first like North American appearance. And so I did. For the first time in my life, I did the whole standby line or standby in a line to possibly get selected to get an autograph. And so, like, pretty much what I did for one of the show days, or the day before that he was going to do that, I was, like, scouring the show floor for anything Junji Ito so that I could get signed. Elvis actually gifted me a little Uzumaki figure, like, blind box figure that he got from Anime Expo. And it's the exact one that I would want from all the possibilities. But I didn't bring it with me because I didn't know that Junji Ito was going to be on the show floor. So I went around. I actually bought a hardcover book for one of his works, Tomi, and it was apparently the guy's last one. And so I woke up like at 6 o'clock to join this line to then get a chance to get the book signed. You know, like meet him, take a photo, get the book signed. Fortunately, I wasn't picked. I had essentially 2 chances to do it, or I had 2 days to do it, and one of the days I was just, I had a long night of drinking, so I didn't make that line. But like, regardless, like it's nothing that I regret.
Right.
Like I said, I'm not a whole like min-max kind of person. The less I wait in line, the better. So out of the experiences, like out of the the things that I did, all I did was the IMD boat, which was cool.
Which
We
is
got two free drinks and some
a
snacks out of
great
there.
name as well for the boat. I love that they call it the IMD boat. It's so stupid but so fun.
Yeah, and then we did the crap. What is it? The brewery?
The AMC.
No, not the
Anne
AMC.
Rice,
No,
Immoral.
no. We did that. We did
Oh,
that.
you did the Voodoo Ranger. Yeah,
the Voodoo
other
Ranger pirate ship.
Yeah,
That
which
was
is a
cool.
local brewery down there. For those who don't know.
Yeah, that was cool. Because I got a good day buzz going. Because those beers are really, really strong.
Yeah, I misjudged that day a little because that morning when you guys did that, I was like, I'm going to do the Only Murders in the Building activation because I like that show. And it was a 20-second touchscreen tapping game, and then you get a random prize from a vending machine. That's it. Line was 2 hours. I didn't know that's what it was because no one knew what it was. Yeah, I got a stick of Selena
you could always ask.
Yeah, but I was like, I thought the prize would be cool. I got a stick of, actually the prize, I take that back. It's a little legit. Not for me, but for Rachel. It's, a stick of Selena Gomez's mascara or something, which is apparently like a $35 value, which in terms of swag value, at Comic-Con, that's up there.
So the prizes wasn't even like themed around the show?
No, it came with an enamel pin of Only Murders, but because she's on the show, they did a partnership. So you could get you did this little game, and then they spit out a prize, and the prize is not dependent on how you do in the game. And the prizes were all mystery boxes, and they kept it a secret, like, don't tell anyone. So the small boxes were mascara and Only Murders pin. The large boxes were, like, more show-theme related stuff. Like, you get a beanie, like one of the characters had. You get a bottle that says Gut Milk, which is a drink from the show. That's, like, a running gag. Like, stuff like that. But I didn't know. So while you guys were drinking it up, I was fortunately standing in the shade, but, like, waiting to get mascara that I didn't know I was going to get. So.
Oh, the weather was great
some.
too. Like it never got too hot. The hottest that it got was when we were waiting for 3 hours for that Anne Rice,
the Anne Rice
Immortal Universe activation.
Yeah,
which I'm gonna say it here. I don't think I said it over there. Not worth it.
Nope. I mean, I think one of the things that's interesting with Comic-Con, I feel like, is some of the activations are very clearly like, if you have a passing knowledge of something, okay, you'll do fine. Like, if you know Jurassic Park, the photo ops, okay, yeah, those could be fun. But, like, something like what AMC was doing, like, it helps to know the show, to understand the characters a little. I had none of that, so it was basically, like, some actors like, hey, you're in New Orleans, and, like, we're gonna have you, like, do a few things where you talk to some people and try and, like, solve a mystery. But with no touch point for, like, why you care, it kind of lost something. I would have been probably way more into it if it was, like, if I was a big fan of the show. You know?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. The actors did their thing. Like, there's someone that sang. There's, like, a guy that gave a speech. Like, they were pulling their weight, but it just didn't resonate.
But yeah, like I said, I go there more for the vibes,
Right?
Than I go to min-max
Go,
everything that I can do possible.
Yeah, that's me with travel in general. I really like to, like, if I like. I get antsy. Like, and I know, Angel, you and I were actually talking about this when you were talking about your Cancun trip, when we were trying the other day, but, like, I can't just sit poolside for a couple of days. Like, I do it for, like, a day, and then it's like, I want to go explore. I want to go see things. I want to go, like when I was in Hawaii, it's like, oh, yeah, this is really nice thing here, but could we go see, like, some other beaches? Like, do you want to go do, like, the road to whatever it's called? Like, the cool, like, scenic stuff? Could we go see some turtle? Like, I'm just like, boom, boom, boom. Like, I can't, not that I can't sit still, but
it depends on it, because I could agree with you on at least, like, the traveling part, but I feel like over the years with Comic-Con, I've preferred more let's just sit here a while, take our time, like, you know, just kind of relax and just enjoy being there than trying to go to every single activation that is remotely relevant to stuff I like. Because even I stopped caring about going to a lot of those things. I mean, yeah, like, I think the only thing I was excited about the last time I went to Comic-Con was the giant Bowser. And right. Even then, I didn't even see it the first day. I was like, I'll see it when I see it. It's like, it's just
and that was interesting because for me, because there wasn't as many things that directly related to my interests, there were times where I was like, now what? Because I hit everything so fast, and I'm like, okay, now what? But then, like, slowing down and, like, going through the show floor with, like, your brother Angel with Elvis on Saturday, like doing it again with our friends on Sunday, like, I started finding all these little, like, hidden things on the floor I didn't know were there because I was, like, buzzing around so quickly trying to, like, do all the things So there is definitely something to be said for taking a breath and enjoying things as they come. And yeah, like I totally get where you're coming from with that. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I guess that's Comic Con unless there's any other anecdotes that we're missing, crazy purchases.
I got a
anything else?
Magikarp made of Mega Blocks, 1,200 Mega Blocks. It flops when you turn a crank.
Yeah, those mechanical movement series. Like there's like a Pikachu that runs.
And a Gyarados, I
They
believe.
seem interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what else they come up with.
The Magikarp will not be available for purchase outside Comic-Con until October, I believe, which means I got to build it sometime between now and then so I can be like, look what I have, before it becomes readily available. Because obviously, it's not about the thing itself. It's about me going, look what I have. I'm being sarcastic.
Yeah, we'll see if that happens. Which
it would have been a great project while I was
with
quarantining, but I did not do it yet. So,
well, I'm sure you'll definitely find some time.
Yeah. No,
well,
it's a little activity for the two of us here because like we've built the Lego NES together. We built a Grogu together out of Legos. It's a thing.
While we were out in Comic Con, this guy was at Coco Bongo or whatever it was called.
Yeah, so I was in Cancun for a week. Nothing too crazy. It's just a nice resort. Not really used to being at a place where everything is all inclusive. Like just the fact that we were able to walk up to a bar at like 6 a.m. and just get whatever we wanted for free. Well, not for free, but included. Basically till like 1 a.m. was kind of nuts and definitely took me a little while to get used to.
Living the life.
But and I'm not gonna lie, that did kind of lose a little of its charm pretty quickly. It just went from like, oh, let's get another drink to, I guess I'll get another one. No, I think I'll pass. I'll just get a water. To, I think, I think the just lounge, and this is like to your point, Jason, like just chilling around and drinking definitely lost its appeal. If we were drinking and, going to a specific event or doing something very specific, then I'd feel like that'd be more interesting. Which we did do a couple things of. Like we had some planned events, so it was still very, very fun. But I definitely, I think it's just boring. I just got bored of just sitting in a lounge chair for after an hour. And this was, of course, like after catching up with family that I haven't seen in forever, which was obviously very great. But of course, outside of like just the beautiful landscapes that I did see in some islands or just being on a boat, I think the standout in just sheer weirdness has to be Coco Bongo, which I described to Jason as like Hollywood Boulevard the musical, because it's just so weird and random. It's like they just took, it's not even random IPs, just like things that I guess were popular at a certain point and things that are popular now. And I guess because either, I guess Cancun is too small potatoes for these big companies like Disney or Fox or whoever owns them to step in and do anything about it. Or maybe copyright law is just different that they can't touch them. But
I think it's the latter. It becomes too much of a hassle in the courts.
But essentially, Coco Bongo is a nightclub that feels more like a show. Like you go in, I think we get in like at 8 and we were there till like I think 1 a.m. and also completely open bar at the club as well, which definitely made the show very, very entertaining. But yeah, like 1 second, like to start at the entrance, there's a giant statue of Spider-Man with a sign dangled around his neck, like welcoming you to the Coco Bongo, as well as a lot of statues of the Mask, as in like Jim Carrey's The Mask. And, this big fires of poster size things of like Darth Vader and Freddie Mercury and Michael Jackson. And as they're entering the club, you go up this like escalator and then you see like Britney Spears and a bunch of just like pop artists just from like different decades until you enter like the main area, and then you're just kind of sitting there, you're having your drink, then the lights dim, and then there's I guess like a little person dressed as the Mask, surrounded by a bunch of scantily clad women and a bunch of men, and then they carry him and they do like the the coffin dance from the meme, because I guess that's just like how it starts, and then they kind of break it into a bunch of like song and dance numbers, and then after like dispersing, the lights go down, and then suddenly it's Pirates of the Caribbean, except people are like in like cables and being like suspended and doing like these crazy like acrobatics, and
Like Cirque
then
du Soleil status?
basically like there's basically a lot of Cirque du Soleil stuff in here, and then the lights dim, and then you get, and I'm not even gonna go anymore because I don't remember what order it was, but then you get like a tribute to like Michael Jackson, and the lights dim, and then you get like a Cirque du Soleil 300 tribute because 300 of all things,
Like the
I guess,
movie
deserved a Cirque du
300?
Soleil. Yeah, like this is Sparta. Yeah,
Huh.
Jesus
like
Christ.
there were like people dressed as like Spartan warriors with their shields dangling upside down, doing like what felt like abstract,
Avant-garde.
I guess ballet,
Like
avant-garde
interpretive
movements.
dance?
Like, yeah, there you go, interpretive. Yeah, like interpretive Cirque du Soleil, and then that dims, and then you get basically a reenactment of the finale of No Way Home. You have like 3 different Spider-Men wearing the 3 different suits, fighting a Green Goblin, and also in Cirque du Soleil status, which was very entertaining and actually kind of cool. I mean, I'll give them credit that all these Cirque du Soleil style dances and even just the performances themselves were very thought out and very well done, despite the crazy mishmash of IPs. There's like no flow. And and then you go into like a Queen tribute, and then you go into like I guess you go into the Mask tribute where he does I guess the maraca cheeky boom dance, and then Beetlejuice comes out, and then he's doing this crazy dance thing, and then suddenly they start blasting "I Want It That Way" with a giant projections of NSYNC, Backstreet
Backstreet
Boys,
Boys.
one of
I
those.
Backstreet
think.
Boys.
Yeah, and then like they have like the whole crowd like singing to it, like it's just
You're also leaving out.
it's indescribable.
You're
It's so crazy, and then
you're
in the place itself, like
there we
besides
go.
selling like their official merch includes the mask wearing Coco Bongo like attire, and even the restrooms, like you're literally like the urinals are giant, like the Rolling Stones Kiss mouth, like you're urinating into those, just
Oh, into
giant
the
red
mouth with the
lips.
tongue sticking out?
Yeah.
Oh wait, yeah, you sent me. Okay, so full disclosure, Angel was basically one man live blogging this to me as it was happening. I think I was at the jury duty party when he was doing it, so we were both enjoying libations. But he was sending this to me as it was happening, and you're leaving out a key thing, Angel, which it wasn't just they were doing this; it was a multi-story stage. So like there's a center stage, which was like eye level, but then there's like a second floor balcony that had screens running like up and over it into the ceiling that had like other stuff going on. Like it was like above you,
Yeah, it
below
was
you,
pretty
beside
crazy
you. It was everywhere, it looked like.
because basically people you could completely surround the center stage, but right above the bar, that's like where there's like more of a normal stage with the screen behind it with a curtain that also gets things projected onto it. And yeah, they did a bunch of ABBA, they did, like I mentioned, the Queen. Also just like nondescript person doing the robots, but in a very crazy way. And then also just more like Cirque du Soleil stuff, like a lot of well, not confetti, but like a lot of paper cannons. Like you were pretty much bombarded with paper so often, like shredded paper. It looked cool, but you had to like basically have your hand over your drink half the time, because otherwise, yeah, you just get paper on your drink. But yeah, they had a bunch of the camera that they would like point at random people, and then they would dance. Or I guess if you paid enough, you could go into the second floor and be a performer, where they would sometimes grab people, and yeah, you could kind of tell those were the normal people. But it's quite the show. And I don't recall it being that expensive. I think for it being like completely open bar and for how crazy, I think it was
What?
$70. I want to say
Kevin, we
something
went
like
to the
that.
wrong Comic Con. This is truly the real Comic Con.
70 to 80. I want to say it was. I could be completely wrong. I didn't pay for it, but that's just kind of what I recall it costing. But yeah, I mean, literally, like, I think at one point, like, a woman goes up on stage next to the mask, and he literally gives her like a handle full of like tequila, just like on stage. But yeah,
Yeah, we
Coco
went to the wrong
Bongo,
Comic Con. The more I hear, the more I realize.
definitely one of the craziest nightclubs. Definitely one of the few places where I don't mind that it's so loud, because you got the bar, you got the very entertaining performances. It's crazy. It felt like no holds barred kind of deal. But yeah. But I mean, that's all I got for Coco Bongo slash
We're not. Are
Cancun.
we able to top that this episode? Sir,
I don't think so.
I think that's it. You
Yeah,
can't top
no.
that.
Yeah, if you
That's
ever
the
end up in
finale.
Cancun, give Coco Bongo a check. I don't you. Yeah, it'll be an unforgettable experience. That's probably the safest way to qualify
It was
it
secondhand
or describe
unforgettable,
it.
just from the videos you sent me.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep. But yeah, I mean, I guess that's all we got. I guess I'll leave the housekeeping to Jason because
Sure.
it keeps changing.
I love housekeeping. All right. Yes, things do keep changing. So, if you want to make sure you don't miss a lot of changes, if you want to make sure you don't miss an episode, but also not, to make sure you don't miss an episode of Random Nintendo, as we're back on our hopefully every 2-week grind, you can subscribe to us in your favorite podcasting apps. We're on Apple Podcasts, we're on Google Podcasts, we're on Spotify, we're on Amazon Music, we're on iHeartRadio, we're on TuneIn. We are not going to be on Stitcher much longer because Stitcher will not exist much longer. It either shut down 2 days ago or shutting down at the end of August. I don't remember. So RIP Stitcher, it's been real. You can also find us on Twitter, which I'm still calling Twitter, at Ram Nintendo. It's now called X by its owner, but in my heart, and hopefully yours, it will always be Twitter, but we're still there. We're not yet on Threads as an entity,
I was
but
about to ask,
individually,
when are we going to get on Threads?
we probably should. We're not yet, but we probably will be soon. And then
Who will run the Threads account?
Do you want to? Wow, that got real quiet. I mean, you could. Anyway, so we'll have a Threads account in the future.
What?
I said, do you want to? And then I said, do you want to? And there's no answer.
Your mic's messing up.
Oh, well, anyway. Yes, Threads. Soon. But for now, you can find us on Twitter / nope, not calling it X. You can find us on Twitter at Ramtown. You can find us individually on Twitter at JSR7 for myself. Wero, who he doesn't use it anymore, WERRO_O. Kevin at KVN Gomi. You can
I think use that for Threads and something.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. You can also just go straight to Threads. I cross-post all my stuff. Angel's only on there. Kevin, you seem to kind of cross-post. So I am JSR7 on Threads. Angel is... Wait, which one are you using on Threads at this point? Wero or World?
Wero.
Okay.
Well, Wero is what I'm using for my normal stuff.
You make it very
drawings.
complicated. So Angel has multiple ways to follow him. If you want written word, WERRO_O on Twitter. I mean, on Threads, with occasional pictures. If you want pictures with occasional words, follow World of Wero, no _O, but with an S, on Instagram. Did I get that right?
There you go.
And Kevin, you are KVN Gomi.
And Wero on Threads is what my Twitter was, and World of Wero on Instagram is drawings.
What you will now be. But your drawings are your thoughts used to tweet in visual form. So I'm just saying, there's a lot of ways to follow us in a lot of places, and we're great people, and you should do it. And that's it for housekeeping. Oh, also, we're on YouTube, Ram Nintendo. That's where you can find us. Thank you for your time. Back to you, Angel.
All right, I guess that's the end of the episode. So I guess I'll give the final word to Kevin.
Later.